Behind every great achievement, every triumph of human progress, you'll find people driven to move the world forward. People finding inspiration where it's least expected. People who lead with their imagination. But in an increasingly complex world, we face new challenges. And sometimes it feels like we've reached our limits. Now, with the help of intelligent technology, we can achieve more. We can access information that empowers us in new ways. We can see things that we didn't see before. And we can stay on top of what matters most. When we have the right tools and AI extends our capabilities, we can tap into even greater potential. Whether it's a life-changing innovation, being the hero for the day, making a difference in someone's future, or breaking down barriers to bring people closer together. Intelligent technology helps you to see more, do more, and be more. And when your ingenuity is amplified, you are unstoppable.
Hello, everyone. My name is Richard So, and I'm the Senior Project Manager for PowerPoint, Inking, and 3D. And thank you for coming to our session today about creativity and AI. We really want to help understand and talk about today very tangible examples of how AI can help you in your day-to-day life in the office. Today, when you talk about AI, or when you hear about it being talked about in the media, it's a little bit nebulous. And so for us, we're trying to make things more tangible, and we're going to demo quite a few features within Office in PowerPoint and in Word. As you know, our mission is to empower every person and organization on the planet to achieve more. And this means that we are dedicated to helping build the right technologies to help everyone, every organization, every IT pro. We want to help them achieve more. And our approach to intelligence, we want to help democratize technology for everyone. And this is true also for AI. With limited time and higher expectations in how we work today, content creation is something that takes a lot of time and effort. Humans have the innate ability to create, which is something that currently machines cannot quite replicate. There's artistry in imperfect humans, in my eyes. But what can humans achieve with a little help from artificial intelligence? As Satya mentioned, we're working on many domains with different industries to help transform them digitally. From agriculture, we work with Land O'Lakes to help include sensors within their crops to be able to monitor things like soil and rainfall, help them streamline processes. H&M, which you mentioned on stage as well, helping them transform in the retail space. And also BMW, being able to provide more of an end-to-end solution for them to bring new brands to market. But in our daily work life, lack of efficiency is very costly. Did you know that about 40% of time is spent in presentations doing formatting? And 47% of customers view about 3 to 5 pieces of content before they decide to buy. So it means that the content we create, we actually have to simplify and hopefully make it easier to create that content. So if I can leave you with 3 things today, it's about how we can unlock creativity. Enabling better insights and outcomes. So we want to help you go from this, which is just a slide with a block of text, to something like this through intelligent technologies. Working naturally. Inking in Office, as well as Dictation, helps people tap into the very natural ways of working and interacting with technology, something that we really are working to integrate into all of our products as well. And then this all boils down to saving time and effort. One of the main things we want to do is make sure that you have enough time to tackle your day-to-day business and make it run smoothly. So for all you IT pros out there, I think it's super important to know that according to recent research, 75% of workers say their employees don't give them access to the latest technologies. And 42% that they would actually quit because they don't have access to the latest technologies. So the intelligent features we're going to talk about today, they're actually unlocked with an Office 365 Pro Plus subscription. It provides regular updates, both helping with the current features that are in play to make them stronger, faster, more reliable, and then also new features along the way as well. And recently, we're trying to unify our intelligent experiences across our core Office apps, and recently unveiled our new UX design. Now let's see some practical AI in Office. Welcome to the stage, George Krinker.
Hey there, how's everyone doing? Good? Good conference so far? Cool. All right, my name is George Krinker. I'm a program manager in the Microsoft Word team, and I'm going to be the one starting our first set of demos today. So for this first set of demos, we actually wanted to showcase how some of our intelligence features can help anyone be extra productive, and we wanted to do that in a real-life example. And so we thought, what better real-life example than to show how we can use some of these intelligence features to put together the materials for a conference session like the one we happen to be in today. In fact, our vice president actually asked us to put together the materials for a conference that he's going to be talking to next month on collaboration and intelligence. So we thought we would do it in the room with you folks today. So at Microsoft, when preparing for a conference, we usually start by putting together a demo script in Word. So I have Word open over here, and I'm looking at what probably all of you look at when you first open Word and you're about to start something new. I'm looking at that blank white page, and it's daunting. The last thing I want to do right about now is start putting words in the page. I want to go pour myself a cup of coffee, procrastinate a little bit. In fact, we hear over and over again that the hardest part about doing anything is simply getting started. But luckily, we actually have an intelligence feature that can help us put our first few words in the page. I'm going to actually leverage our Dictate feature to add the key message for intelligence for this conference talk we're going to be doing next month. Artificial intelligence in Office. New line. Artificial intelligence in Office can help every organization on the planet achieve more by helping end users save time and effort comma, enable better insights and outcomes, comma, and work naturally, period. Awesome. Not bad for conference room acoustics. It got almost all of that. You'll notice that it was intelligent enough to understand smart commands like comma, period, new line. That's because this feature is driven by the same core technology that powers Cortana today, the same technology that we demonstrated in the past to achieve human parity. So this isn't only a great feature for someone like me trying to add words faster on the page, or add words in the page using in a more creative posture, but it can help everyone because it's super useful for users that might be going through a temporary disability or permanent disability. Everyone is empowered through this feature. Okay, great. So we have our key message over here. I think a great next step for this document might be to add the list of word features we might actually want to cover. So I'm going to go ahead and add list of word features. And I have a bit of a problem now. So I actually didn't talk to my manager. I haven't talked to our vice president to understand what they'd like us to cover next month. So I feel a little stuck, and I don't know what to do next. Luckily, what I can do here is I can leverage this next feature to actually add a placeholder for myself. So I'll go ahead and type @todo and say add a list of word features to demo next month. And so you see that the minute I add a placeholder, it shines blue. It's easily distinguishable from the rest of the content of the document. I can easily go back to it. So now I don't have to feel stuck anymore. I can move forward, continue working that document, and come back to this later when I have the information I need on hand. OK, but this feature really shines through when we're working with other people. So we'll also probably need a list of PowerPoint features. So let's go ahead and create that section of our document. And here's the thing. I'm not a PowerPoint PM. I know very little about what to demo for PowerPoint. But luckily, I have a colleague who might actually be able to help me because he works very closely with the PowerPoint team. So I'm going to go ahead and create a placeholder for Lee and say, @Lee, can you please share a list of features for us to demo? OK, so what happens next is pretty cool. So Lee's actually going to get a notification on his phone or an email with this request for information. In fact, with this exact question that we added in this placeholder. And what's really cool is it doesn't actually have to go open Word, open this document, find this placeholder where we're asking for this information. You can simply respond to this email with the information that I'm asking for, and all of that gets intelligently pumped back into this document. It's great for lightweight collaboration. It's great to save time because he doesn't have to context switch between all these apps. It's all about saving time and effort. OK, so let's fast forward a little bit. Let's assume that we spent some more time in this document. We've added a bunch more content, and it somewhat looks a little bit like this. We have our key message for intelligence. We're still waiting on a few things for collaboration, but that's OK. We have a placeholder to remind us to go back to that part. We have a list of demos to show, a breakdown of our session, and even some awesome key points on intelligence. I feel like this document is ready to be reviewed, so I'd like to do that with you folks today. All right, so in the past, we've talked extensively about the editor right-click menu, so I won't spend a lot of time talking about it today. But I did want to cover an alternative flow for reviewing your document end-to-end, quite a powerful flow that I want to show you today. So if we go ahead and click on Review and click on Check Document, what you'll see is what we call the Editor Overview pane. Now, the first thing you'll notice is that the Editor Overview pane is awesome because it lists all the different categories of corrections and refinements that you might want to undertake with your document. On the left-hand side here, you have little counters to help you keep track of the progress of your proofing work or to help you understand what work remains before your document is truly polished. And so that's really useful. Now, what makes the Editor Overview pane really great is that it allows you to customize your proofing workflow to fit the needs of this document or to fit the needs of your work. So what do I mean by that? Well, this is a demo script we're putting together in Word right now. So covering something like formal language, taking care of those refinements, probably aren't super important. In fact, it's probably OK to be a little informal in a conference session so that we don't bore our audience to death. So I probably won't spend time working on that. But making sure that the points we have in our demo script have clarity and are concise are super key to make sure we don't have someone standing in a podium here waffling on and on about nothing. Or making sure that any message we put out there is inclusive is super key. It's key to a company like Microsoft, and in fact, we think it's important for many modern organizations out there. In fact, we usually bring this one as an example of a great refinement or a great category of refinements that are useful for many organizations out there. I'll also say we've sprinkled shortcuts to the settings menu all over this pane. It's a thing you'll notice. We want to really make it easy for users to turn on and off the refinements and critiques that are useful for them. Again, it's about personalizing your experience so that you're spending time in the right places. Okay, let's go ahead and take a look at these spelling mistakes, because a spelling mistake is a spelling mistake. It makes any document feel unpolished. And the last thing I want is for my boss's 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 boss to think that I didn't spend enough time on this document. So the first thing you'll notice is that we have all the familiar and useful functionality you've come to see in the right-click menu. So for example, we can have suggestions be read out loud, or we can have them spelled out for you. And that's really powerful, especially for users who might have dyslexia or who might have English not be their primary language. We also bring in synonyms underneath each suggestion, which really help disambiguate between the different suggestions you might have to pick between. And so, for example, in this case, sometimes it can be hard to know the principle, the first principle, the second principle, but synonyms help make clear which one fits with that sentence over there. There are two more things I want to say about this editor overview pane. The first one is that we've built it ground up, so it's fully accessible, which means everyone in your organization can leverage this technology. The second thing that I think is important to bring up is that just like the right-click menu is now leveraging the power of our cloud, the power of our intelligence services, so is this pane. So more and more, you'll see more relevant suggestions being brought up for you, and less you'll see us offering no suggestions, because we can augment those results with suggestions from the cloud. All right, so before we're done with editor, I wanted to show one more example here. This is actually one of my favorite. In this sentence, editor is recommending that I use something different than mankind because it's not gender neutral. So over here, I think humanity fits really well with the sentence, so I think I'm going to pick that. But because we have more real estate than we do in the right-click menu, we're actually able to offer more supportive information in the pane than we can in the right-click menu. So in this case, we're providing you with a description of what this issue is, why we're bringing this up. And the key idea here is that we hope to help coach our users, elevate their writing, so that over time they'll see less and less of the same kind of mistakes. All right, so before I go here, I wanted to show you guys one more feature. I want to draw your attention to the search box on top of all of our apps. And in the past, we've talked about how the search box can be super useful for helping you complete tasks. So maybe you're looking for a button that's hard to find because it's underneath many layers of menus, or it's a button that's amongst a sea of other buttons and it's hard to pinpoint. You can search for that button and find it using the search box. We also use predictive technology over here to help suggest actions you might want to take next based on what you've done recently in this document. So if you look over here, we're suggesting to print, maybe because we started reviewing our document and it thinks we're done, or continue to review it by clicking on spelling and grammar again. But we've actually added a couple more features that make the search box even more useful. So let me go ahead and start searching for something. So type J. And the first thing you'll notice is that we're bringing up people for you in the search box as well. Powered by the Microsoft Graph, these are relevant people either to this document or to your recent work. And so what's really cool about this is I can actually start a conversation with someone, say my vice president, and ask him a question. And I don't even have to leave Word to be able to do that. I can maybe share this document with someone, and I can do all of that from the same search experience. The other thing you'll notice is that we're also bringing up document results over here. Again, all this is powered by the Microsoft Graph, so these are documents that are highly relevant to me. So what's really interesting about this is when we're putting content together, like I'm putting this demo script right now, we often want to refer to a previous document we worked on, maybe a slide we put together in the past. And so maybe I'd like to reuse a chart or a graphic or a table that I saw in a previous presentation. I can actually do that without having to go to SharePoint and start searching for the file, having to find the specific graphic that I'm looking for. I can do it all from within the app that's already open for me. So I can go ahead and click on Insert Document Item. It'll bring up a gallery with all the components from this deck that I can reuse. Let's see. Awesome. And within one click, I can actually click on that. And great, that picture gets inserted into the canvas without any extra effort. Again, it's all about trying to save you folks time and effort so you can focus on the things that matter. Now I'd like to bring up Derek to the stage. He's going to show you how you can use intelligence features to put together the deck for this conference session.
All right, thanks, George. My name is Derek Johnson. I'm a program manager, so you can think about that for a second, on the PowerPoint team. And I want to show you some of the things that we've been working on over the last couple years that are all coming together today in the ideas pane that was announced here yesterday at Ignite and is coming soon to PowerPoint Online. So you may notice I'm in PowerPoint Online, and maybe everyone's not super familiar with that version of PowerPoint, but I want to show you everything today is going to be done in this online app, but you should know that all of it can also be done in our Windows and our Mac versions. So now that we've got all of our content and outline put into our Word script by George, it's my job to go put it into a presentation. And like George, I'm also looking for ways to save time, but ultimately drive better outcomes for my message. So one of the things you're going to notice here is, for the first time in PowerPoint's 30-year history, we actually have grammar checking and writing assistance powered by Editor, just like George showed back in Word. So I can right-click on this critique here and get suggestions for how to improve this. So George left some of those more informal writing style sentences back in his Word doc, but now we get it into PowerPoint in a presentation scenario. I don't want this to be excessively wordy, so I'll take the suggestion just by clicking on it one time. So now I'm stuck with something that a lot of people face, which is black text on a white background, and this contributes a lot to what we call death by PowerPoint. You guys have all seen it. You've been at a conference for a couple days. I hope you haven't suffered from it here. But on the PowerPoint team, we want to do our best job to stop that from spreading. So we're going to utilize the Ideas pane that you see up on the right here, and you can find that in the Home tab. And what it's doing is it's searching all of our intelligence services in Office using my slide content to figure out how we can produce the best slide. And in this case, it's recommending that perhaps I could add some images to this slide. But beyond that, it's actually pulling keywords out that are in my slide to help me get started, so I don't just face an empty search box. So I'll click on the intelligence one. This is going to pull up a number of images from Bing, and I'll pick one that I like here and just click once to insert it. That drops right in, and now another intelligence service is taking over called Designer. It's looking at the content on my slide and figuring out how I can integrate it. So with a single click, I can select the one that looks good to me, and I've got a fully completed slide there. Now, as George mentioned, this presentation is going to be for Jeff Teeper, so let's put another image in here just to make sure people know who's speaking. So I'll just drop an image in of Jeff, and that's going to drop right on. And you'll see again that Designer has now updated. It knows I have another image, and it's doing quite a few interesting things that may not be obvious here. All of these images are being sent up to our intelligence services, and they're being analyzed. So in this case, it's looking to see if this photo has any faces. And if it does, we want to make sure we crop on that face. We'd never want to crop someone's face out of it. If there wasn't a face, we'll use salient region analysis, look for interesting areas in the photo. And in some cases, we'll actually pull a color palette out of the image to apply to other elements on the slide to make it look clean and consistent. So now with a couple clicks, I've got what I think is a great looking title slide, and that took me about 30 seconds max. So next I'm going to move on to our timeline. This is something we often put together so everyone's on the same page about how much time we have left to prepare and where we are in the cycle. Again, we don't really love seeing people just have a wall of text and bullets, so we're always looking for more visual and memorable ways to represent this content in PowerPoint. In this case, we've got a couple suggestions over here where they've been transformed into a timeline diagram. And what's actually happened behind the scenes is the text on the slide was analyzed using natural language processing. We determined it was a sequential list of dates, and now we recommend this completely editable, resizable, recolorable smart art diagram that represents a timeline. So if things need to change, this is easy to change. But it also represents it in a far more visual way than just a list of bullets. All right, one more thing that Designer is now able to help you out with is supporting tables. So let me drag a table here from the document that George was working on, and I'm just going to copy this into PowerPoint. Now, historically, getting tables in PowerPoint to match the look and feel of your presentation hasn't always been the easiest thing to do. So now that I pasted the table in, I'm going to see what ideas can offer me. So I'm going to go to Ideas, and I'm going to dig in even deeper on the design ideas and see if any of these fit what I'm looking for. And in this case, I like this one that's taken the text and made it look a lot more like the look and feel of the rest of my presentation. So again, if you're keeping track, a couple clicks, 2 or 3 minutes, and we've got already a pretty good looking set of slides here. So now I want to get to a slide that I think is the most important. This is something we want to make sure people take away the right points from our talk. So I've got 3 key things that I want people to remember, and this slide needs to be perfect. So you may notice here in the ideas card a new card called Check for Consistency. And this is doing something that all of us do, whether or not you realize you're doing it, which is spend a lot of time making sure that things like the punctuation is consistent, are words spelled the same. If you had the word website and it's hyphenated in one bullet and not hyphenated in another, certainly when you're collaborating with your colleagues and they take a different style, someone's got to go do this and clean it up at the end. Well, now in the ideas pane, it's going to be highlighted automatically for you, and I'm going to choose to not have punctuation at the end of mine. So with a single click, it's going to correct that and make those all consistent. So now that I've got that cleaned up and I feel good about the content, I really want to make this memorable. And I think to do that best, I need to make it more visual. So I'm again going to come back to Designer here and see what they have to offer me. So I like this design quite a bit. And it might be a little jarring of what just happened here, because we just went from a slide with 3 bullets to this. And there's no demo magic happening here. What we've done is the Design Ideas service is taking all the bullets that you have in your presentation and splitting them up into these chunks, which makes it a little more readable. And then we're also pairing that with our machine learning algorithm, which takes the text in each bullet and finds the most appropriate icon that's going to match that in our repository of icons in Office that are available for everyone. Now, I would say 2 of 3 of these are pretty perfect. I think intelligence in the light bulb matches my message well. Editor with the pencil looks great. Collaboration, it's going to email. That's not necessarily wrong, but I think we can do better. So I'm going to click on the icon, and this ideas pane is going to pop up here and offer me replacements, again using our machine learning model, of what it thought would be the next best. And in this case, I'm going to choose this one because it reflects how we want to talk about collaboration and people coming together. So now in a couple clicks, I've got a great professional looking slide. And as a side benefit, when I chose that replacement, I'm actually helping to train the ML algorithm to do better in the future. So over time, it's going to continue to learn and get better and better. Now, again, this is a fully editable diagram. So often people will create something that looks like this out of shapes. They'll align it. They'll spend 20 minutes with guides and making sure it all lines up well. And then inevitably, 10 minutes before the presentation, there's just one more point you need to talk about. But given that this is actually an editable diagram, I can just come in here and add one more bullet. So by typing that in, you'll notice that the whole diagram has expanded and made room. I can go back and change the icon to something else that I want. In this case, I think talking about autosave, a lock icon makes me feel pretty good. And let's say, oh, we actually want to put a picture in on the side. Given that this is fully editable and resizable, I can move this over. It's going to auto lay out, and now I've created room on the right side of my slide. So a lot of power by having these diagrams available. So there's one more thing I'd like to show you in PowerPoint, and that's around our automatic alt text service. I'm sure many of you have heard of alt text and the values of doing it. If you've done any web development, you've certainly seen all these warnings: add alt text to your image, make sure it's accessible. We find in practice not enough people actually make use of this. And it's very important because without alt text in your images, people that are using screen readers can't understand what the image is of or even what your intention was in adding it. So let's show you how Office and Intelligent Services can help this. So I'm going to drop an image in, and my intention would be to use this as in a background. There's no one necessarily that we care about on the image. It's just a generic one, but I want people to know what it's of and why it's on here. So you'll notice that a vertical or horizontal bar appeared at the bottom, and alt text was automatically added by our cognitive services team. The image was sent to the service. It was automatically tagged. We determined we had very high confidence, and we put it right in that document. And now just by clicking on it, you can see it's here and available for anyone with a screen reader. And if I want to change it a little bit, I can just come in here and make sure I get my context across so that someone using a screen reader understands my intentions. Now, without really even having to think about it and taking 2 seconds, I've made my document more accessible to everyone across my organization and the entire planet. So with that, I want to pass it off to Megan to talk a bit about learning tools, Translator, and Sway.
guys, how are you doing? Thanks for joining our session. I know this is a long one, but we'll get you off to happy hour pretty soon. We're not ready yet. So here at Microsoft, we have global sales teams, and probably much like you guys have sales teams that you work with and produce collateral and content. Our sales teams like to share across regions. We get a good content or good sales proposal, and they like to share it with each other. The only problem is a lot of times those are in other languages. So the US asked me for a piece of content from the Brazilian team. There's only a slight problem, is that it's in Portuguese. But Word actually has a solution for that. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to go ahead and open the document. And as you can see, Word has recognized that my normal working language is English. So I'm going to go ahead and translate the document. The translator feature can translate entire complex documents in seconds. So as you can see, just like that, the entire document has been translated into English. That's a lot of text to translate that quickly. We talked about AI getting smarter over time. As you tweak translations, we learn and can improve future outputs. Our translator is getting better and better, but it's not perfect. It's always a good idea to review and look for areas of improvement. A feature I like to use is called Learning Tools. It helps check accuracy in long, complicated documents like this one. Learning Tools was actually developed for people who have dyslexia, but it can elevate the comprehension skills of anyone. You may have heard a statistic that we like to share, that 1 billion people around the world have an unseen, they may have a disability, and most of those are unseen. Microsoft is committed to making our products accessible to everyone. And at your organizations, it's important that technology is accessible, especially when we don't know who has disabilities and who needs help, who doesn't need help. Learning tools I use, I can show you a couple features and what they do. So I'm going to add column width. I'm going to make them more narrow. And I'm going to use inverse color. This reduces visual crowding. If I increase character and word and line spacing, this can help with fluency. Breaking words into syllables assists with decoding. And although I've made visual changes to this document, we still retain all the document's content and richness. One of my favorite ways to check my documents is read aloud, because I hate it when I'm presenting and I'm talking to a large audience like this one and I find that I have an error. So read aloud for me, we'll read the document back. Oh, we can't hear it.
Summary. The current consumer electronics market is facing an unprecedented...
Well, you guys can't hear that, but it actually reads the document back to me. And there's different languages you can choose. You can choose a female, a male, or you can choose also other types of English. Let's close out Learning Tools and make a few edits. So I actually find it easy to work with my pen. It's a little bit more natural for me, especially if I'm in tablet mode. So let's go into Ink Editor. Great, I'm going to take off Draw with Touch since I have my own pen here. So I found a section in the document that I actually want to call out. So I'm going to go ahead. Let's try that one more time. Okay, so we can just bold that section with one pen touch. I found a few words that are extraneous, so I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those words. All I need to do is strike through. Another feature I really love is when I'm taking notes in meetings or I'm editing a document, I can actually just insert using a caret. I can insert words. And it'll insert the word for you. Without any calibration, it's picked up what I wrote. Another thing that I want to do is I want to ask George about a section in my document. So I'm going to go ahead and choose my highlighter. I like yellow. And our AI is smart enough to recognize that I wanted to highlight the entire paragraph. So similar to when George was doing dictation and it could pick up breaks, periods, it also picks up the fact that I want to highlight this whole section. Ink to shape is another option that I like. I usually take off draw touch again. And we can actually draw shapes, and it turns it into high fidelity shapes. This is helpful if you want to create, you could also write in here if you want to create a handwritten. That's my favorite. It's called Galaxy. It's kind of fun to play with. So I'm going to go ahead and X out of this because we're going to need to use this document. So I'm going to unhighlight. Great. So I'm going to show another feature that our sales and marketing teams like. The use cases for this are sales pitches, newsletter, product pages, and training. And remember that statistic Richard shared? He talked about how customers view 3 to 5 pieces of collateral before they make a buying decision. So it's really important that we're creating content for our customers to read and to pass around in their organizations. So transforming your proposals to web pages is a great way for your customers to consume your content. This is especially useful because now people are mobile. And we want them to be able to access content in a way that's native to a mobile phone when they're on the go. So I'm just going to go in here and say File, head down to Transform. As you can see on the right-hand pane, we have options of different styles that we can choose. Sierra, I tend to like the mountains and the outdoors, so I tend to pick something like this. The nice thing is it previews for you what it would look like on each device. So if you're on desktop or mobile, it shows you what the experience would look like. Another one that's great and outdoorsy is Celestial. Same thing. Really high fidelity gives you a view of what your customers or the people in your organization are going to see. I actually like Boku, so I'm going to go up there and pick this one. Okay, there we go. And it's transforming our document. The Transform to Sway feature scans my documents and detects things like headings and sections and converts the document to a beautiful sway. So if we just wait a few seconds, it's transformed into this beautiful web page. Oh, there's my ugly green. So it's really a great option. If your sales team need to send out collateral, they can just send out a link. I'm going to go ahead and show you navigation. And navigation is where you could just click in further into your document. So if you do send this out, your customers don't have to read it in its entirety, although the scroll is really natural and native. You can actually go in, they can go in and choose where they're interested in. Another thing I want to point out is that you may have noticed it popped up and said this had limited viewers. That's intentional. We set that by default, that it only shares sways within your organization. unless you choose to share out. So I want to share this with customers, so I'm going to say anyone with a link and go ahead and share it. Now, if you guys could do me a favor, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. If you could either put in this URL or scan the QR code, we're going to go ahead and look at Sway Analytics. Great. Everybody got it? Cool. So I'm just going to go to office.com. Go into Sway. I do want to mention office.com is a great place for you to view all of your documents and all of your apps. So great, this is the one that you guys just accessed, and you can see that there were 42 views, 38 glanced, and 4 quick reads. So this actually gives you feedback on whether or not either you're sending documents within your organization, or if you're sending them out to customers, are they consuming them? So this kind of gives you a quick way to realize like, oh yeah, my content works. I know I send out PowerPoints, and I'm like, are people reading it? Did they consume it? I don't know before I hit a meeting. So this is a really useful tool. One of my favorite examples, One of my favorite examples of AI working for you in Word is enhanced autocorrect. It runs in the background, so there's no new experiences for you to learn, which is great. We get that feedback a lot. I don't want to learn a bunch of new technology. So enhanced autocorrect replaces more mistyped words for you automatically while maintaining a high degree of accuracy. This example's in Outlook, but we use the same technology canvas between Word and Outlook, so you'd have the same experience in Word. As you can see, there's a significant decrease in squiggles. And I know I don't like correcting all those, and when I misspell, and I tend to misspell more and more as I use computers. That means if you only write 20 emails in a day, you save 16 hours in a year. So that's a lot of busy work eliminated, and I know I don't only send 20 emails a day. So in summary, AI in Office unleashes the creativity of your organizations by saving your users time and increasing their quality of output. By letting individuals work comfortably through features that are inclusive and enable natural ways of working, every employee can do their best work. Features like Tell Me, Translator, and Enhanced Autocorrect save time so individuals can focus on more impactful work. Features like Editor, Designer, Inking, and Transform that you saw today allow individuals to produce what in the past would have taken hours of labor and expertise. I do want to mention that if you have Office 365, you already have many of these features, or they're coming very soon. So thank you very much. I'm going to go ahead and pass the stage back to Richard to talk about the next phase of AI. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. So, what is the future of AI? I think it's a pretty big, lofty question. And in reality, as you've seen today, humans and machines will intimately work to create entirely new ways of getting your work done day to day. A good way to think about how humans and computers will work together is to explore how it will help automate routine tasks that you can see. So it could be calculating the time you spend in meetings each day through my analytics, or being able to understand more interesting ways to create great content. That's what we've seen today. But if we take a step back and look at Microsoft as a whole, the areas that we're investing in span across perception and cognition. So vision, speech, language, and knowledge. You've seen speech today with dictation, language, with translation, and then knowledge as well, through being able to intelligently use the services to understand what's on a slide and transform it. And at Microsoft, over the last 3 years, we've had several AI breakthroughs. Everything from the object recognition that I talked about, speech, machine learning, and translation. But there's also a very important aspect that we're starting to examine more deeply as a company, and for the industry as a whole. So we've created a book called The Future Computed, with a foreword by Brad Smith, our president, as well as Harry Shum, our head of research, to explore what are the ramifications of AI in the future, and what are ways that we can start to create a dialogue about what's going to be successful. And ultimately, the question is not only what computers can do, but it's what computers should do. So now, as computers are starting to behave a little bit more like humans, they're starting to make decisions as well. And so it's important to think about the framework, the ethical framework that we're using to help drive our decisions and how we build at Microsoft. We've released a set of ethics. We actually talk about this and introduce it in the book as well. I talk about fairness, reliability, and safety. For example, for that one, I think it's important to look at history. You can see with the automobile was first introduced, it actually created a dialogue to create new safety standards that were then employed across the industry as a whole. Privacy and security is vitally important as well. We want to make sure that we're adhering to the standards within your organizations as well as the regions, and we want to be respectful of data. Inclusiveness. We want to make sure that all of the AI that we create is built for everyone, and everyone can access it. And then underpinning all of these is transparency, being able to know and have AI identify itself when you're interacting with it so that you're aware. And then accountability. Accountability, I think, is one of the most important things, because as we, as humans, are building this technology, we have to make sure who's going to be accountable for that. Is it going to be computers? How do we hold them accountable? Or is it the people who are building it themselves, technology companies? I'd say it's everyone. So as written in the foreword of this book, we talked about we should establish a Hippocratic oath for AI and ethics, similar to how doctors will do no harm. And after publishing, this has actually gotten some great feedback with the press as well as the general public. So we're seeing a lot of people adopt this type of discussion as well about ethics. So we need a global conversation. And we need to use AI for good. Last year, we announced a $115 million commitment to humanitarian efforts for AI for good. So across the domains of Earth, being able to help the planet, accessibility, and actually, yesterday, we just announced another $40 million commitment for humanitarian action as well. This, we're going to use AI and partner with NGOs and humanitarian groups for disaster response, needs of children, refugees, and displaced people. Also human rights. So as we come to a close, I know everyone's probably pretty tired. It's been a long day. I want to talk a little bit more about a more literal interpretation of AI and creativity. I'm actually an artist. I paint, and I also am a musician. So creativity is something that's very important to me, and I think it's something that I wanted to share as well. So in PowerPoint, we've been introducing new technologies for 3D models to be able to put in over the last year or so. I'm not sure if you've seen this, but able to kind of create a really great 3D morph feature that you can make your presentations come alive and make your content stand out. This demonstration is for the Hubble is actually available online as well. So if you go and you launch Office 365 PowerPoint and do a search for templates under 3D, you'll be able to see this one. It's pretty cool. So as an artist, a project called The Next Rembrandt recently caught my attention because it explores the connection between AI and algorithms. to examine the role AI can play in understanding what makes a great painting. Created in partnership with ING Bank, ad agency J. Walter Thompson Amsterdam, and Microsoft, the project translates Rembrandt's body of work into data signals used to predict and create an entirely new masterpiece. While not intending to mimic or copy Rembrandt's work, the project's goals are to inspire the next generation of artists by encouraging people to explore the artistry of data around their world.
One of Rembrandt's great achievements, was to portray human emotions in a much more convincing way than artists had before him, and in many ways for all time.
At ING, we believe in the power of innovation, what it can mean to people. We want to bring this innovative spirit to our sponsorship of Dutch art and culture. We knew that for this challenge, we needed to team up with experts from various fields to make this come to life.
We're using a lot of data to improve business life. But we haven't been using data that much in a way that touches the human soul. You could say that we use technology and data like Rembrandt used his paints and his brushes to create something new.
The first step was to study the works of Rembrandt in order to create an extensive database. We gathered the data from his collection of paintings from many different sources, including 3D scans and upscale images using a deep learning algorithm. Because a significant percentage of Rembrandt paintings were portraits, we analyzed the demography of the faces in these paintings, looking at factors like gender, age, and head direction. The data led us to the conclusion that the subject should be a portrait of a Caucasian male with facial hair between 30 and 40 years old, in dark clothing with a collar, wearing a hat, and facing to the right. From there, we started to extract features only with faces that were related to that specific profile.
And we had to create a whole painting from just data. And we used statistical analysis and various algorithms to extract the features that make Rembrandt Rembrandt.
We took parts of the face and we started to compare them. And then, based on this, we're able to create a typical Rembrandt eye or nose or mouth or ear. After generating the features, we were focusing on the face proportions. We used an algorithm that can detect over 60 points in a painting. We were able to align the faces and to estimate the distance between the eyes, the nose, and the mouth and the ears.
A painting is not a 2D picture, it's 3D. You can see the canvas, you can see the process, and that's what makes the painting come alive. A hive map is essential to make the painting a painting.
We incorporated the height map into the painting and printed on a 3D printer that uses a special paint-based UV ink. It printed many layers, one on top of the other, which resulted in the height and texture of the final painting.
It's sometimes a magical moment to see a painting for the first time. Even if it's computer generated, for me it is something special. I would have believed if I saw it in a museum that it would have been a real Rembrandt, just one I haven't seen before.
It will be interesting to see Rembrandt looking at it. He will be happy that there are people trying to understand him and trying to create something out of that, so I think he will be happy.
The next Rembrandt makes you think about where innovation can take us. What's next?
I think it's pretty fascinating, actually, as an artist I mentioned. So for me, we really want to talk about and end the program today with some of the summaries of what we talked about. Unleashing your creativity with Office. We want to also learn about the practical uses of AI in Office to enable better insights, outcomes, working naturally, and saving time and effort. AI is unlocked through Office 365 Pro Plus subscription, and we're committed to ethical AI. I think it's really inspiring to see Microsoft fueling creativity through technology. I believe there is inherent value and artistry and creativity and beauty all around us. You just have to take the time to look. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah, we're good.
So when does the idea pane show up for the on-prem, non-online version?
Do you want to take that? I think you'd expect not to see it show up outside of the Pro Plus subscription.
No, Pro Plus, yeah. So when does it show up in one of the channels?
For ideas? For ideas in PowerPoint online? Or for ideas?
For ideas.
Yeah.
When does the idea pane show up in the local product?
Desktop version.
Desktop version.
Like running on your Windows machine, for example.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's actually coming soon, so it's not something that we can disclose the exact time frame, but it is on the roadmap.
But you should think about a lot of the services that I showed, all of the design ideas things are already available in there under the design tab. So think about ideas as pulling it together into a centralized place. And yeah, like Richard said, we don't have an exact date for that, but a lot of that capability is already there in Office 365.
Can I ask?
Yeah?
I'll repeat it.
When you were demonstrating the spell check, the enhanced spell check,
Sure.
is that an AI capability, or is that just the way it is now with a bunch more words in it?
So as I talked about in my talk, we are bringing in suggestions from the cloud, from our One Speller service, and that leverages machine learning models in order to augment these results, in order to provide better results than we ever could from only local dictionaries.
Okay.
So that part is
It is bringing.
Yep, from the service, that's right.
Will we have the ability with that? A lot of people will go in and, in quotes, correct things that are annoyances to them. Will we have that same ability here? Will it know what we, so if I have an acronym that's QHI, and it wants to correct that, I can go in now to the dictionary and just delete that. Will there be some memory of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know whether we have plans to start incorporating this specific kind of feedback. I think it's a great idea, and it sounds like you already know the way to sort of add it to your dictionary so it doesn't get flagged. But that's a great idea of how we could start adapting our models to learn from data within your organization. I don't know whether we're doing that already or whether we plan on doing that.
So the new implementation is a combination of the both, the two?
The new implementation is a combination of both our local dictionaries that we continue to update, as well as some augmented suggestions from the cloud.
Thank you very much.
No problem.
Okay, for PowerPoint and Word, say we have fairly strongly branded templates.
Ladies and gentlemen, the microphones are on. The microphones do work. Can we please speak into the microphones because we are recording? Microphones are on.
Okay, so for Word and PowerPoint templates, we have a fairly strong corporate brand. Will those design suggestions kill the brand, or will it actually put it on top of it?
You know, I can answer that one for you. I think there's two ways to think about what I showed you with all the layout changes. When I showed you in the ideas pane, I did one click and it overhauled the entire slide. But you'll also have the ability to do piece by piece. So if you remember how I changed the icon, I clicked on it and this thing popped up, and that gave me replacement options. The same thing can happen if I click on a text box that's going to go to a timeline. So I can do that in place without changing any of the other branding on the presentation. And it'll also use all the theme information to make sure the colors match your corporate branding and theming. So that's available today in the online product and coming shortly to the desktops.
excellent.
But yes, I mean we care very deeply
Does that
about.
make you happy?
Our brand team will like that. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yeah, for sure.
So if you're if you're working on a deck where you're able to have full complete control and you just want something fresh, you can use our entire layout suggestions. But sure, if you're in a very tightly controlled brand situation like many folks are, you have that flexibility.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
One other question, if I could then. With features like Smart Art, they're pervasive through the Office applications. So you highlighted PowerPoint and Word. Is this going to be throughout the Office suite or just these applications? In other words, one of the advantages of Smart Art is I can go into Outlook or I can go into Word or I can go into Excel and it all works the same.
Mm-hmm.
That same concept being carried forward?
Yes, that's exactly right. So everything that you create can be viewed, edited across all of the Office apps. Today, that transformation tech is only happening in PowerPoint, but it's not a far cry to think about doing that elsewhere.
Same features in the same way, like Smart Art. I have the same Smart Art menu in Outlook
Correct.
as I do in PowerPoint.
Correct.
And that'll be the same with these features as they get rolled out gradually?
Yes, but today you're only going to see that transformation tech happening in PowerPoint. So the thing where I converted it from text to the Smart Art piece is in PowerPoint. But once I have that Smart Art, I can copy and paste that throughout Office, make my changes, all of that will work.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can I ask what apps you're interested in using it in? I just want to hear more. I love the idea.
I teach.
Okay.
And one of the things when I'm teaching the Office applications is I will show someone a feature in pick the app,
Yep.
right? So I'll take Smart Art, for example, and I will say, here, you use this in PowerPoint, but did you know that I can also come over here to Word and use it? I can also, if I want to be silly, I can I can overuse it in Outlook, right? But nonetheless, the idea is that I learn it once,
right,
and I can go to all these different applications, and I can reuse those skills that I learned.
Mm-hmm.
That's the nature of my question.
Yep.
So it's not any given application. It's the idea that I learn it once, and I go into this environment, and I already know how to use all of this.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. All right.
Thank you. Write that down.
Hi.
The idea of using your corporate branding and it following, is that just importing my templates and it'll use the color schemes?
That's correct.
And the location of the PowerPoint that you showed of the 3D model using Morph, where could we get that again?
That's actually in product. So if you go to File, New in PowerPoint, there's a search bar where you can say Search for Templates.
Oh, and
you can just type it in, and that model's available.
Mm-hmm.
That presentation I can search for that way?
Yes.
Yeah, you can find that one.
That model is available from NASA. It's good to go. You can play around and try it out.
But I mean the PowerPoint.
The whole presentation as well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and also in PowerPoint as well, you're able to open up and insert 3D models, and it'll open up a pane. There'll be all these different selections as well that you could put and explore.
We should mention too, we have a really rich search feature. If you guys can't find something and you're looking to do it, just put it in the search. It pulls it right up for you.
And we'll be at the booth, so if you can't find it, just stop by the booth. I'll take care of you.
We'll be at the booth right now. So.
Hi there.
Thank you for the excellent presentation. One of the things that really grabbed me, the part where you were talking about the learning tools, and then being able to visually change is like decoding or doing the read aloud. Are those features universally available, only available in the Pro version?
Office 365. So if you have an Office 365 subscription, you have access to learning tools.
Already, or this is coming?
Already.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The product.
Working learning tools already in the product. You can find it. Okay.
I'd be happy to help you find out.
If you come down to the booth after, we can show you.
We'll go to the booth and help you guys with anything.
Great, thank you so much.
Thanks, you guys.
Appreciate all your time.
Thanks.
Fill out the evaluation, but more importantly, if you have feedback on the products, please stop by the booth, let us know. We want to make it better. So thank you very much.